Did you catch it?
Got it.
Please stand.
Ask Kelly tomorrow.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So much paper here. Oh, there it is.
Carol.
Okay,
Is coming in.
all of order. Commission's CRW Board of Commissioners adjourn work session. We didn't have anything scheduled, did we?
So it's just a commissioner communication, so it's an opportunity for you to bring up something if you want. We didn't have anything specific.
So I have one question, if I could. So where are we with Butterfield? Have we fulfilled our commitments to them to get the culverts in and do all of those things that we were going to do? Give them a weekly update on the project?
Yep, so Adam working on that. So we do get them the weekly update. We've always given them a weekly updates. And then the timing we've told them was October.
Yeah, two things. So we committed to them to provide the weekly updates on the reservoir project, which we've done since construction started in the spring. And then on the culverts, we did work out a plan with them that they are in approval of. And we plugged that into the contractor's schedule, since they're up there doing the tank work and they have the capability to do the culvert work as well. That's been being scheduled for October. That's when their utility crew that's working at the tank site will be freed up from some of the things they're working on there. We'll have a capable crew then that can go and do these culvert inlet improvements on the lake.
Yeah, I was just hoping before the rain started.
Yep.
Just don't want to get sideways again. We have a contractor trying to negotiate a deal with them, and without those things, I mean, I don't believe that she'll change, but it's just, we just got a lot hanging on that thing, and I just really want to make sure that we can get those done as soon as possible.
Right.
So, and you're still dealing with Kelly?
Correct.
Good,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep. And just one thing to keep in mind, if I can offer.
Yeah.
While we are attempting to get it done as quickly as possible, being that the culverts as they exist today, they flow fine. The rains, don't have that impact, whether it be a flooding issue. It's more the depth of the inlets that the homeowner, the property owner is concerned
Right.
about. So
Yeah.
we'll rectify that.
Yep.
Yep.
Very good. That's good to hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
Take the roll call, please.
Commissioner Anger? Here. Commissioner French? Here. Commissioner Garrison?
Here.
Commissioner Kalani?
There.
Commissioner McNeil?
Yep.
All present.
Okay, I have something for the commissioners' communication. So my husband actually got something in the mail. I might be a scam, but it has to do with water lines, and so I just wanted to make sure that it's important information regarding your water service line. This letter to inform you that any necessary repairs to the water line that runs from your home and the public utility connection are the responsibility of the homeowner. Your property is not covered with exterior water service line coverage from Service Line Warranties of America. Is this a scam?
They want insurance. I want you to take insurance.
So this is, technically it's not a scam. I personally would hesitate to do that because they want to take the money for the insurance premiums out of your bank account. So here are people unsolicited asking you for your bank information. In the time that I have been here, we see it kind of come in waves, and typically it gets addressed to older women, and now they are, this last round has been to men. But we did have a customer in the 9 years that I have been here that actually had the insurance and was able to repair their water lines with the insurance coverage. So,
Yeah, there are legitimate companies that do this.
Yes, due diligence.
Think of it as a form of insurance, just like you probably will get solicitations for, repairing appliances and insurance,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So it's a similar type thing, as we in no way endorse or are affiliated or anything like that. And so it's a personal decision, and we encourage people to check out the details.
And they do kind of act like they're contacting you on behalf of your water provider, but they're not.
Okay,
So, but that's good to know, appreciate you bringing that to our attention, because a lot of times we can make sure that we're notifying customers and clarifying we have nothing to do with this.
Yeah,
so.
and there, I mean, we may wanna put something on the website.
Website.
You may be getting these notices, this is in no way affiliated with CRW, use due diligence and do your own research to make a decision on whether this would work for you.
So if you don't mind, we'd
Oh,
like
sure,
to
you
take a
can
copy
have
or grab it or whatever.
oh, we're not,
You're not gonna do it? Okay.
I had assumed it was a scam, totally, because I assume everything is. But, okay.
Might we also put something in the monthly mailer that goes out with the water bills?
Yes,
That would get more
Yeah,
exposure
we'll
from
have-
the website.
we will have another insert in the October 31st bills. So, but like I said, they do kind of go in,
Just,
yeah,
we keep our distance.
yeah.
Thank you. Anything else?
Anything? No, okay. During the work session, the regular meeting.
Move to approve the agenda.
What?
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
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 Public comments.
Do we have any public comments?
Do we have any?
Yeah, it's very curt.
Gary, did you have?
Yeah, I was gonna schedule for item 1,
Oh, okay.
so.
Okay, so you want me to do the presentation?
We'll do, so he'll wait until item 1 and we'll ask for public comment at that
okay.
point.
Is that the usual order of business? Okay.
These specific
Ready for agenda item 1? All right.
Okay. Make a motion first. I move that the board approve resolution number 01-2019, authorizing appropriations increase to personnel services, materials and services and capital outlay in the general fund for the 2017 to 2019 biennium.
Second.
Those in favor?
Or, well,
Yeah,
presentation, public comment,
Yeah.
so. All right, so if you're okay, we'll have Carol proceed to kind of walk you through.
Okay.
Good evening, commissioners. I'm presented to you the supplemental budget. So this is, everything is related to the general fund, so we're only talking about one fund. And we're asking for a total increase in appropriations of $758,000. And so we're not holding an official budget hearing because the adjustment that we're requesting is less than 10% of the total budget for the general fund. So we don't need to do a public hearing, we can just simply do this as a resolution at a regular meeting. And so starting with the personnel services appropriation category, we're requesting $120,000. And this is for, because we have such an ambitious capital program in this biennium, the engineering department, engineering staff could use a little help. And so we're looking to increase our full-time equivalents, one full-time person in the engineering department. There's a lot of project management, a lot of different components that CRW does, even when we have a contractor doing the actual construction work. So this proposal is just to add one full-time employee. This is based on, at this point, we don't know who this person might be, but we're basing it on the highest cost for PERS and perhaps full family coverage, just to make sure that we don't run short before we get to the end of the year. Then in the materials and services category, we've got basically 3 line items that we're looking at. And the first one is a $200,000 increase to the engineering services. And we are planning to enter into agreements with multiple engineering firms to help with some of these capital projects. And each of these contracts is going to be a not to exceed $100,000, but we will look at them cumulatively, collectively, to make sure that we don't go over the $200,000 total with the number of firms that we select. This does give us some flexibility in choosing the firms and being able to find, you know, a firm at the time that we need them that has the availability to do the work. And this could also overlap somewhat with the personnel services requests that we just made, but we don't know exactly how long it will take us to find that person, and in the meantime, we still need some engineering help. So if we were able to hire somebody tomorrow that could be brought up to speed like that, then we probably wouldn't spend very much, or, you know, a significant amount of this money. But since we have some unknowns, it just seemed prudent to put some money in the materials and services side as well as in the personnel services side. And again, anything that we don't spend stays in our bottom line, that remains in our ending fund balance. So the second area is in water purchases, and we have completed the joint rate study with the City of Oregon City to develop the wheeling rates that we would be using in 3 different areas there. And I will be presenting a lot more detail about that at the work session on Monday, but we've done the calculations with the new rates that have been agreed upon. And so we've got about $113,000 for the prior fiscal year and about $115,000 for the future year, because Oregon City has a slight increase in their water rates to South Fork Water Board, and for the joint users, we pay their rate rather than ours. And the other thing in materials and services is a $25,000 increase in the water treatment and analysis category. And there's just been increases in overall chemical pricing, and we came really, really close to our line item budget for the prior year, and so we just felt that we needed to ensure that we could have the chemicals that we need on hand. And then finally, to the capital outlay appropriation, we're asking for $185,000 so that we can complete the VHF radio system for emergency communications. And this will get us through phase 2 site development, purchasing all the VHF radios, and the phase 3, which is the site linking, and have that project completely done and active by the end of this fiscal year that we're currently in. So here's a picture of basically what the original budget was. We did a previous supplemental budget that increased the general fund by $105,000, but remember that $94,000 of that just got moved from the Clackamas Regional Water Supply Commission activity fund into the general fund, so it wasn't additional money. And then this is showing the supplement that we're requesting this evening, and showing the total budget for general fund, personnel services, materials and services, and capital outlay. And so it's an overall 4.72% increase over the original budget.
And so based on the last report, it's being paid for by revenue that we've already collected with excess sales of water.
Yes. So
And that doesn't include the last billing, because you just got the last bill.
right.
Yeah.
So, and yes, the August billing was quite high,
Yeah.
but through June
I know.
30th, through June 30th, we had, revenue had come in $1 million higher than what we had forecast. And, you know, I'll mention again, I do conservative forecasts on the revenue side, because I don't want us to spend ahead of what money might come in. So, you know, maybe I could have forecast a little bit higher, we wouldn't have had that, but I just, you get a wet, long spring, and you just never know. So, anyway, we do have sufficient revenue to cover the cost. The resolution will show that that's what we're doing, is we're increasing the revenue line on the resources side, and then increasing the expenditure lines on the requirement side. So that's my presentation. And any questions? Yes.
Yeah, on the item for water treatment chemicals, you said, you indicated that it was just a general increase of prices there, but the handout is very specific that you want to get powder activated charcoal in the event of a cyanotoxin event.
Right. So,
How effective is that in treating a cyanotoxin event?
so I had a memo from Rob, the water treatment plant manager, that I misread. And basically, we tried some, Rob, what do you call it, designer pack?
Designer carbon or
And-
higher test carbon, yeah.
And it wasn't really,
Activated charcoal?
yeah, it wasn't really that effective, the designer stuff. So that's not what we're buying, we're just making sure that we have sufficient chemicals on hand. So the
Okay,
treatment
so what
process
you
will change.
said in your presentation is correct.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Thank you.
certainly.
Any other questions? Discussion.
Well, we have public comment?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
That's Gary.
Gary.
Yeah.
Gary Fair, ratepayer, and chairman of the budget committee. I want to express appreciation to the staff and the board for actually putting these things that are less than 10% on the agendas and actually voting on them properly. So the public knows what we have done and the budget committee knows that. I'm assuming that when we get the financial statements for the year in question, which will be this year, and the budget statements, these kind of schedules will be in those so that the full budget committee who's not here and wasn't to the other one either will see what the changes were and how they affected. And particularly important to me, the fact that Carol mentioned the fact that our revenues are up sufficiently to cover these changes, and in my view, it makes a good use of the funds that were not anticipated, so that we get some things done that are critical. So, that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Call the question?
Commissioner Andrew?
Yes.
Commissioner French?
Yes.
Commissioner Garrison?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalani?
Yes.
Commissioner McNeil?
Yep.
Motion passes unanimously.
Agenda item 2.
Is that another, okay. I move to award the Hatton Road Pump Station construction contract to Rachi Incorporated for the bid amount of $3,425,071 and authorize the general manager to sign the completed contract.
Second.
Adam. Good evening again, commissioners. This first item is for the Hatton Road Pump Station. Contract award, we had a very good turnout on the bids. We had eight bidders submit. 7 of those were acceptable bids. We were pleased to see the range where it was for I'll say the bottom 5. We're all pretty tight, and for a job like this, it's a little bit of uncertainty in the bidding climate, material prices, doing all sorts of things right now. We're happy to see where it landed. Also pleased to see Rachi as the low. As you know, they are the contractor doing the 152nd Reservoir work and doing a very good job up there for us. So I believe that they sharpened their pencil a little bit. They were already in the area, so maybe their mobilization costs were a little lower. They were able to be competitive and give us a good price. The bid that we received from them, there was a minor error to it that we corrected in review process and ran it by legal counsel to determine that still an acceptable bid. They had an incorrect quantity and thus an incorrect price on one of the bid items. That actually decreased their bid by about $16,000. So with the corrected total, that's what you see on the write-up and the motion. That total bid of just over 3.4 million was about 6%, 6.5% above our estimated engineer's estimate on the cost of the project. Again, reason for that being we somewhat suspected that might be the case. The bids might come a little higher than we had estimated at complete 100% design phase. Again, just because of the climate with materials, steel prices, as you know, other materials are being affected by busy construction season. This time of year, contractors are fairly busy. That may have also affected to some extent getting represented pricing. So, but again, we feel good about the pricing, feel good about the range of bids we got, and are pleased to recommend Rachi to do this work for the pump station. I'll just real quick, I can not blind Commissioner McNeil with my pointer, but this is the Hatton pump station there on the wall, the number 6. That of course is our connector between 152nd Reservoir. Will bring the water that's delivered to the pump station will then be pumped up to our Redland Reservoir site to complete that segment of the backbone. And as you know, the Hatton transmission main you just awarded last board meeting, which was awarded to Tappan, so those two projects will be fairly closely running schedule-wise. So there was some coordination there. We invited both of them to the reconstruction meeting for the transmission main project to make sure we have good cooperation between the contractors that'll be working out there near each other around the same time. So, and then just a quick blurb on the property. You might have a question. The pump station property is not yet purchased. We are very, very close. The reason for the delay was we were running the partition of the property that we're purchasing from the owner through the county. That process does take a little time. Just this last week, we submitted the final plat to the county, and got the property owner's final signatures on everything. So we're expecting that to be processed at the county in the next week or two, and then that'll allow us to move forward with the closing on the purchase of the property. So that's all coming together in good time.
Hopefully the ensuing hurricane doesn't cause us problems. The bulk of the electrical equipment for this project is made in the Carolinas.
Yeah, and Georgia.
And Houston is up against it with another one, and that'll wipe out all these plastics. So that's really bad for this country. So hopefully they've got suppliers that are ready to hold that equipment for us.
Right.
You could get a year delay easily. So.
Those in favor?
Call the question.
Commissioner Answer?
Yes.
Commissioner French?
Yes.
Commissioner Garrison?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalani?
Yes.
Commissioner McNeil?
Yep.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we have another. Item 3, can we go ahead and do the motion? I move to approve resolution number 02-2019 endorsing annexation of territory into the jurisdictional boundaries of Clackamas River Water for property located at 21200 and 21271 South Ferguson Road, Beaver Creek, Oregon, and related county right-of-way. Second, somebody?
And there's more
Second.
paperwork that was in your backup.
Yeah, so thank you for pointing that out. So in the folder, you do have the 11, the maps are the same with what's in the packet, it's just larger. So they're 11 by 17 maps. In your folder, it's 8.5 by 11. And we do have Adam available to give a staff report on that.
It's nice to see they finally came in.
This is one that's been on the list for a while, we'll say, and we're pleased to see that all the information has been submitted by the property owner. Exhibit C is probably the easiest one, I think, to see I believe you have a large scale version of that in the packet, but to see both properties side by side with Ferguson Road between the two. The annexation request is for both those properties. The larger one is the Beaver Lake Nursery, the smaller one is the residence. And you'll notice that the annexation also includes that portion of Ferguson Road that joins those properties. And the purpose for that is that in order to maintain continuity for the district lines of the new boundary, we want to make sure we get that right away as part of the annexation as well. So that's all been included. The legal descriptions for each of those tracts are in your packet. Those did come in late, so thank you for allowing us to submit. Those came in last couple days, got those in the packet, so those are there for your review as well. Don't have any real specific information unless there are questions.
So
Any questions?
where's the line now on our district?
So the district is all of the yellow.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Yep. Questions? Additional questions? No? Over vote?
Commissioner Andrew?
Yes.
Commissioner French?
Yes.
Commissioner Garrison?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Polani?
Yes.
Commissioner Keel?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
CA1, Bruce, payroll and accounts.
So you can adopt all the consent agenda items all as one. I will point out there are two that you don't typically see on your consent agenda that are a little different. One dealing with surplusing the chairs in the boardroom. Staff has heard your, you know, and so.
my back
We have, yeah, we have it set up where, the nice thing is the place that we're buying them from will take away the old ones, and so that's nice, but we need you to surplus those. And then the second one is a continuation of a request from last year where someone had a well that needed to be rehabilitated. They had some work performed on the well to improve that, but they now realize they need to install a cistern in order to collect that water, because the rehabilitation of that well didn't allow it to produce enough without that cistern. And so they're in the process of trying to get that done, however, they don't have that done yet, and so they've approached the district to see if they could get another temporary use to get some temporary water to augment their well water right now, so.
Given our infrastructure, we intimately aware of how the plumbing at the fire station, how to get it from there to there.
They bring out.
So they're gonna just draft out of the hydrant into a tank.
Yep, we're gonna take the tank up to their house and.
Yeah,
The,
they have
a
portable,
portable
water
meter.
buffalo.
Yeah, right, with a-
portable tank that.
With a
that
portable meter arrangement. that-
We would issue a hydrant, a temporary hydrant meter.
Yeah, right.
That would be taken care of by the fire department, and that property owner has made arrangements with the fire department to hang on to that for them, so when they come fill their tank, that would have to pass our inspection with the air gap and everything on it.
Right.
And if it's the same equipment they had last year, it does, but we would still go through the process.
Sure. I just didn't want us doing what we did to the nursery of running hose down alongside the road for half of a mile and hooked up to a
Right.
hydrant. That's a bad place.
Okay,
So you need a motion to. approve the
I move
consent.
that we accept the consent agenda.
Second?
vote,
Commissioner Andrew?
Yes.
Commissioner French?
Yes.
Commissioner Garrison?
Yes.
Commissioner Polani?
yes.
Commissioner McNeil?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Agenda item 4, is that included in that?
Let's make just an
Yeah,
information.
We'll put an informational report on that.
Oh, that's right. Forgot all about that. So, every year, it's a requirement of our outstanding bonds that I present to the governing body, which is you, the debt covenants for the year. And, our requirement is that we meet our debt covenants, so our revenue less our operating expense less our debt has to be at least 0 or greater, which would be a 100% coverage. And then when we add in our system development charges, then we need to meet 125%. And so in the report that I've shared with you, which I didn't print out for myself, but we have handily met those debt covenant requirements. Now, we will have some minor modifications to the numbers still because we have not completed the audit, but I'm 100% confident that we will still meet that because most of the adjustments that we're making now are on the capital side, which has nothing to do with our operating expenses. So when we went to the rating agencies for the bond, one of the things that we were showing them was that we were not tight on those debt covenants. So, you know, if we came in at 101, then that could be a concern. But since we're coming in so far above the requirement, then that shows that we can readily make our debt service payments. So the bondholders will be happy. And so I present the report to you and can answer any questions that we have.
Doesn't require any action, it's
Yeah,
just an
it's just
informational item.
information.
Okay.
I could have mailed the letter to you, but
We thought
we
we,
typically like to present it.
thought it was good to present that information at the public meeting, so. Ready for item 5?
Yeah. Manager's report.
All right, so manager's report is item 5 in your packet. There's a variety of information. I will just note your monthly report is in your folder. Your folder does have a lot of paper in it this time, so there's some things I'll be pointing out. I think pretty typical information as it relates to the annual or your monthly report. One thing I will note is on the revenue information on page 4, the revenue and expenditure information. Keep in mind, this is only through July, and so it only really shows 1 month. So we kind of start the year over looking at the comparisons and stuff. So that's why you may see some zeros. I know when I first saw that was a question I had. Also on the last page, we talk about the river flows. You'll notice there's a little gap in the river flow data. The gauge did go out for 1 day, and so since this is a 7-day rolling average, that impacts 7 days. We have the data for all those days except for the one, but wanted to.
So when they do that, do they get a daily hit on that gauge?
We get, it's a lot more frequent.
Yeah, but I'm looking at it. So you look at everything up to that date and look at everything after that date.
Yeah.
There's 100 CFS difference between before and after. So did they recalibrate the gauge? They didn't.
No, that would just be that.
Because I went back and I looked for 30 days before and everything afterwards, and there's something goofy.
So, I'm not sure what you're saying about the 100 CFS,
So-
because if you look at the numbers, they're pretty
Yeah,
consistent
so
across.
it was running 7-ish, and then after the gauge, after the day that it was down, and then after that, it was about 100 CFS higher, every day after that.
Well, keep in mind, Clackamas is a very flashy river.
Yeah, I know.
It has
It's still
pretty
flashy, I'm just
significant,
saying,
changes.
for all those days before, it was down, and then after the thing, the days that followed, it was just kind of just going. It'll be interesting to see, because it was over 900 CFS today.
Yeah. But yeah, if you look at the data here, it's pretty consistent.
Yeah,
right
no,
along, so you're not seeing that.
I just was wondering if there was some problem with the gauge prior to that, that was, yeah.
No,
I'm sure they have data that they tie it to, so.
And then they have other gauges to look at too, obviously.
Yeah.
Upstream and so on. So one thing to note as we go through the gauge data in the future is September 15th triggers a different flow target for us, and so that changes to 750. But we are running above that right now, and our demands drop off after Labor Day as well normally. So just those are the items to point out in your monthly report. As far as other items in the report, just to highlight real quick, Veterans Village, this is a thing where we had an agreement with the county to kind of temporarily suspend the SDC to see if that was going to be temporary or what they were going to do in the long term. They did go ahead and pay all the SDCs and fees, and so we are now done with that agreement. They have fulfilled their obligation, and that agreement goes away. So we really aren't delaying or postponing the collection of those fees. So they decided to move forward and set that up. As it relates to Mix M Southport, just a quick item as far as where progress is on that. So they have requests for proposals were issued to qualifying contractors to do the bypass pump work on September 5th. And then they also have the pipe and the fittings have all been delivered to the job site, so that's nice. Those are normally things that have a longer lead time, but they actually have those in their possessions. I've also improvements to access the site. There is some more road work and so on that need to take place, and so that's completed. And then the contractor will start work on the 7th for the additional dewatering wells, so they can have some more of those, and they can monitor the status of that water. And then permits and plans appear to be on schedule. Contractors will be submitting their proposals on Friday, September 21st, and then the plan is that the South Fork Water Board will meet to accept and issue notice to award on September 26th. So there'll be a meeting where they'll consider that. And then just one thing to note, there is an old vault located on CRW property in the area of the bypass project, and so we're discussing with South Fork about possibly removing that vault as part of those projects and stuff. So we're encouraging, let's clean stuff up while we're there. So that's kind of some of the latest developments in addition to what was included in the report. Skipping down to item 3, VHF radio system update. In your packet, we also we had an update at our August work session, and there were a number of questions that I couldn't answer, and since this is something that Don works on, so Don put together a memo that we've incorporated into the board packet, and so if there's questions about that, we're meeting on Monday, so that would be a logical time for questions on that as well. Let's see. So one thing to note also is we will be, it's our insurance agent of record. Our contract with Wilson Airgood is set to expire the end of this year. So staff is in the process of preparing request for proposal document that we can then submit. Our plan is this is something that the board ultimately approves, that we'll bring to the board. We're handling this similar to what we did with the auditor, where staff putting together the information, doing the solicitation, collecting, and then bringing a recommendation to you. So anticipate that we'll have some interest in that contract this year, which is a good thing versus shows that there's interest in serving CRW, so that's good. And looking ahead, we have some meetings that I just want to remind you about. We'll see you again on Monday for our work session on the 17th. This is, again, not our typical date to meet, but just want you to be aware of that. We did originally notice it for a schedule for an exec session, but I sent an email to the board just asking, given some situations that I'm dealing with, if we could postpone that, and I'll work with Commissioner Kwan on getting that rescheduled and stuff. So, we also, before that meeting, we'll have the Clackamas Regional Water Supply Commission meeting at 4 p.m. That will be here. And then I suspect it should be a fairly short meeting, and then we'll have food available since we're kind of keeping you over for 2 meetings. So if you're not on the CRWSC, feel free to show up early, grab something to eat before our 6 o'clock board meeting. And then, Commissioner Manager, as you're aware, you'll need to chair that meeting since the current chair is no longer serving as a board member of Sunrise Water Board.
When's the officers elected?
It says right here,
I think
it's on the
I
agenda.
think it's on the agenda.
So we'll be doing that on Monday. Yeah.
Also wanted to remind you that there's, the Clackamas River Water Providers is holding their annual watershed tour, so I think Commissioner Andrews already signed up. They're doing it a little different this year. They've done this in the past where they're actually floating the river. It's gonna be October 6th, which is gonna be a gorgeous day to be on the river, I'm sure. So there's rafting guides that will take folks down. Space is limited, obviously, since it's on the river tour. There'll be an opportunity to float by, obviously, the 4 intakes for the 4 different water treatment plants. Also some stormwater outfalls, and then also point out different things along the river as part of the guided tour. So if you're interested, there's information about who you can let know with Kim Swan or Karen and I will be happy to take care of that for you as well. Let's see, all the rest of the stuff, a couple items that aren't in your packet that I just want you to be aware of is, actually it's kind of a fun thing, where last Sunday was the 13th annual Down the River Cleanup on the Clackamas River. So this is something that a number of different organizations help sponsor, with Clackamas River Basin Council, working with Solve and some of the other folks. So this is, so this year we thought we would encourage CRW staff to volunteer for that event, and this is the first time I think we've done that. And I'm really proud of our staff and pleased that we had actually over 20% of our staff participate last Sunday to go out and collect debris, garbage and stuff in and on and around the Clackamas River. The event sponsors actually noted there was 2.15 tons of trash removed from the Clackamas. About 33% of it was recycled, and so I thought that was another good event. I was actually one of the trash sorters, and so I got to talk to a number of different folks, and the encouraging comment is a lot of people that have done this for many years have indicated, gosh, they thought there was a lot less trash this year. So I took that as an encouraging thing. And then September is Emergency Preparedness Month, and so some things that the district is doing is obviously promoting some things on our website as it relates to emergency preparedness, and actually cooperating with the Regional Water Providers Consortium and encouraging our customers where they can sign up for a free water preparedness kit, which has a lot of different information about what people should do and consider in order to be prepared. And then we're also promoting that stuff with all of our social media posts as well. And then Don's actually been forwarding information from Clackamas Fire to CRW staff to help encourage us to be prepared. And so we're getting these nice little reminders about things that we should be doing as well. So that's good. That's part of the Clackamas Fire District program. So also, I will be out of the office tomorrow on the 14th and leave town for this weekend. And so I will, Rob will be filling in my capacity Friday through the weekend, so and I'll be back. Hope to be back Monday to see you guys. That concludes my report. Oh, there was one thing. So included in your, so included in your folder is a CRWSC packet. And then the other item is we'll hand out the September work session, or the September 17th work session packet now, so you won't get that delivered to you. You also in your folder, we thought we'd at least start working on an acronym list.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
And so that's something that you can keep, and then with the addition of Commissioner Garrison, we've updated your commissioner list as well. So I believe that's all the information in your folder. And on your commissioner reports, there is one item to discuss as it relates to commissioner assignments.
What do we got left?
Well, commissioner assignments. There's on the second page of agenda item 7. Those are the various organizations
So if I can interject, just as a reminder, so when you did the assignments the first time, you had 4 commissioners, not 5, and so the thought was, once you have a 5th commissioner join the board, it'd be a good opportunity just to kind of revisit that and see if there's any additions. I will point out, there's 2 positions that I would encourage you to think about. One is on the Clackamas Fire and CRW Interagency Committee. There's 2 positions, so Commissioner McNeil is one of the representatives, and it'd be good to have a second person. We are working on trying to set something up with them here in the future. And then another one to consider is the North Clackamas County Water Commission. They don't meet often, however, given the new agreements, it might be good to at least have that interaction with them in the future. And we don't have to decide on that, and actually, and staff's happy to kind of take care of that as well, but if there was interest in having a board member serve in that role, that might be something to consider. All the rest of the positions, I think you've already selected and filled, so.
You just left the CWC just has these in town health, so they left it, that they would discuss it with people. So they made,
Oh,
that was what they were
okay, and I forgot about them. So Karen, as Karen just pointed out, the CRWSC, if you wanted to do something different, right now you do have the representatives of Commissioner Anger, Commissioner Kalani, and Commissioner French are the 3 representatives. If you wanted to do something, that would be a logical time. However, you've already got those 3 positions filled too, so I think it's either way. So is anybody interested in serving on the Clackamas Fire / CRW Interagency Committee along with Commissioner McNeil? There you go. That was easy.
Rusty just volunteered.
Good.
It's like everybody else step back.
Yeah, yeah. Did you feel the
I'm already
train
on to
coming
this.
through?
So, it's not a rigorous schedule, we haven't met in over a year, so.
Yeah.
don't-
Oh, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
But it looks good on your resume.
All right, so we'll add that. And then at some point, if there's interest in the North Clackamas County Water Commission, you can let us know, but
What
that's
is-
not up.
What is their meeting schedule?
I'm looking over at the Sunrise folks do you know how often the NCCWC meets? I don't think it's monthly. Quarterly, isn't that?
Quarterly. I was just working on trying to figure out what NCC.
It's that water treatment plant that you guys have.
Yeah, I get to that part. I've been actually putting words to it. I
North
just,
Clackamas County Water Commission.
Yeah. So I think they meet quarterly.
Okay.
And it's a Thur,
I'll
I think
think
it's
about
like a Thursday morning, or a Wednesday morning, or
That's
something
Carol.
along those lines.
Did you say you'd be interested in that?
I said I would think about it.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Go on
So
there.
so the way this works is the board president appoints, and so if that's of interest, then I would encourage you to let Commissioner Kalani, and then if you don't mind myself, just so I'm aware, you know. and we
Okay.
can Make that happen. So, that's all we had in that.
Yeah, if any more volunteers see something interesting, submit. I'm sure that you'll be taken on board. Anything else? It's the end, huh?
Yeah.
Oh,
so,